So sometimes we forget that we're a part of a global world, that the U.S. isn't just the only kind of folks on the planet. Doesn't help that, the American Counseling Association is our kind of governing body, and KCREP gets really in the weeds sometimes with things and phrases and language that might only pertain to folks, but we are a part of a global community. And I'm just curious on your all thoughts on that, just because from my experience, my wife is a citizen, and we've looked at moving to one of the other countries, and counseling isn't prevalent in those. And you start to ask around, oh, well, are you a psychologist? No, I'm a professional counselor. And I'm just curious on our identity as professional counselors. It is kind of unique to the States, and how do we engage in this global world? Just your thoughts on that.
I agree, and I was just thinking about some of the experiences I've had, and certainly there are things we can do. I think we can, obviously we can read books. I love foreign films. I love just trying to be in different places. And sometimes, actually in the United States, there are places that actually do have, for example, populations that are somewhat, in one particular area that can certainly be helpful. But that is a tough question. It really is, because it's a very Eurocentric model that we come from, and it's basically like we talked a couple weeks ago. You're sitting in an office, 2 chairs, well appointed, and we talk for 50 minutes, and then we say, "See you later," and we'll see you next week. And I think on some level, a lot of cultures, a lot of people don't even understand what the heck that is. So, yeah, that's a tough question. I think the only thing I can do for myself is be informed about what's happening in the world, and also understand that I do believe that counseling is something that can help everyone. Okay. It's just, there are some countries that are probably more worried about buying food than actually paying, $100 an hour for a therapist. So, yeah, I think a lot of it is just what we learn either through research or we move forward, make sure that we are very open about doing research around different communities and different diverse populations. And hopefully that's something that will disseminate in time, because the world's on fire, in case you didn't know. And I thought it was interesting, in the Jesuit tradition, we say, go forth and set the world on fire. I think now we have to say, nah, cut back on that.
You're go forth and help put out the fires.
Exactly.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah. I can pick up on that, is that, working with migrants, working with international students is you have to step out of your bubble. You have to be intentional to inform yourself about the global world out there, because it's more than what you're saying. And research, going back to what we discussed last week, research can really, really help bridge that gap. Because even though you cannot go to those countries, you can learn how the culture, how things are done in this country. Because what is normal here, it might be abnormal over there. And what is normal over there might be abnormal here. And that's something we have to inform ourselves about. And we can do that through research, reading about it, and stepping outside of your bubble. Bubble also means going into places that ordinarily you might not feel comfortable going, and going back to that discomfort. I need to learn about this culture. Where can I learn about this culture over here, outside of reading books, outside of reading research? How can I engage with this culture to learn from them?
I'm interested though, Dr. Kemi, because here in the U.S. we're still kind of getting traction on what that means to be a professional counselor. When you go back to when you go back to like your country of origin and you explain this is what a professional counselor is, how do you explain that, and what is the reactions?
I have to, counseling, good to know, counseling is something that is being gradually being embraced in Nigeria. And, but in the other piece, I have to take off that individual concept, mindset out. Because in Nigeria, we operate from a collectivist mindset. So I have to put on that cap and say, okay, how do I work with this person, knowing that I have to work with the person within collectivist lens. Know that I have to work with the family, I have to work with the friends, I have to work with uncles, I have to work with brothers in order to help this particular person. So it's goes back to stepping out of that bubble, that individualistic perspective and lens, and also broaden my lens to see that, okay, this is one person that I have to work with a lot of people.
And something just struck me when you said that, is that, no matter where you go, there are what we call shared human experiences. Grief is something people face, loss of relationships, loss of health, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's something that we can, on some level, focus, and yet there are different cultural traditions that help with that. For example, in Latino would be curanderos, or curandismos. There are different ways of accessing it, and I think we have to just be open about how we open that door. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, I'm from the United States and I'm the American Counseling Association and I'm a professional counselor, I will help you. What?
Yeah.
Better yet to say, I'm a curandero.
Yeah, well, and I feel like maybe kind of going off of that, as far as like these shared human experiences that we have, there's also, counselors are not the first people to believe we can sit with suffering and maybe offer some healing and transformation. Like we didn't come up with this on our own. And so like honoring some of those traditions as far as like cultures and across time and across culture, folks have been doing this kind of healing work, this kind of sitting with folks in pain and suffering, and to just the humility of that and honoring those things. And so, I take on my role as like, I operate under the ACA Code of Ethics, and this is my identity as a professional counselor and a counselor educator. And I think maybe part of that is working from within that system to really be intentional about how can we make sure that this, that kind of decolonializing therapy from the inside. And so, that arbitrary 50-minute hour, what are the ways that I as a counselor operating in the U.S. or I as a counselor educator training counselors can work on dismantling maybe some of those arbitrary systems or things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've never heard of a level 3 curandero. Level 3 curandero. I'm working for my 2. I just need my certificate in whatever. Yeah. So, yeah.
Also, it's good that you mentioned that. What is in that culture that is working for them?
Yes.
And how can I bring that into the session to help the client? Not really discarding that part of that person's identity. It could be rituals, it could be practices, whatever it is that is prevalent in that culture that has been working. How can I bring that into the session to work with this client? It's very important that we are aware of that.
Great conversation, everybody. So thank you, and we'll pick up again next week.
All right. Thank you, John.